Welcome back to ACB Wrestling Talk. I am your host, Alexis Carrillo, and of course, WrestleMania week is over. WrestleMania 37 has passed us by, and frankly, it was just nostalgic to just see fans back in an arena for a WWE event in that large of a scale, because in my predictions last week for each of the nights, which you can still watch, by the way, see how much I got wrong, how much I got right, very little, by the way, but I did forget to touch upon the fact that fans were going to be back. They were going to be returning to an arena for a WWE event, and that was something that really brought a different energy to the entire show, because it's one thing to look at WrestleMania from last year, which was in front of no fans, and if you go back and watch it right now on Peacock, it's so jarring to even look at some of those clips from WrestleMania 36 last year compared to what WWE does right now with the Thunderdome on Raw and SmackDown and every other pay-per-view, something that they started, I believe, the week prior to SummerSlam last year. And now you compare both of those, and they just don't measure up to what WrestleMania 37 was in the last two nights in Tampa, Florida. Now, this is my first review for a pay-per-view show, for any show really, since relaunching this channel. So again, don't really have any rhyme or reason to this right now as of this moment, so you're going to have to be patient with me. But the fact of the matter is, I just want to talk about wrestling. I just want to talk about WrestleMania 37. And of course, you know, WrestleMania 37 had to start with a damn weather delay. Of course they were going to do that. The weather was going to do that to us. They were going to make us wait even more. Especially since, you know, I did not watch WrestleMania 37 either night live. I had to work both nights. So I was watching the replay. I was watching it on Peacock. And WrestleMania 37 starts out normal. It starts out with the opening. It starts out with Vince McMahon welcoming the fans back to arenas for a WWE event after over a year. I believe it was a year, 1 month, 1 day. So that was great. That was a great touch. It was so right to have the chairman of the board, the man who created sports entertainment himself, welcome the fans back after such a terrible year with the pandemic. Then we had, I believe it was the national anthem. Then we had the opening, traditional cold open. Again, you know, callback to last year with pretty much the exact same open. I felt a deja vu effect after watching that open. But then we get news that, you know, WrestleMania's been delayed because of weather. And we had to wait. And we got like 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes of interviews. And we got Michael Cole and Samoa Joe in ponchos, which was a sight to see. And I'll get to Samoa Joe, the news of Samoa Joe, later on. Pretty much at the end of this review. But they opened up with the WWE Championship match between Drew McIntyre and Bobby Lashley. One thing I gotta say about this match is, really? You're gonna have a distraction by MVP. Somebody, MVP just yelling, Bobby. You have Drew distracted by that on the grandest stage of them all. In an arena with over 25,000 fans cheering and booing and chanting and yelling names. You're gonna have MVP yell Bobby, and that distracts Drew enough so he doesn't hit his Claymore, and that gives Bobby enough time to put in the Hurt Lock and make Drew pass out. Really, you're going to end that match on that note? At WrestleMania, Drew McIntyre, who was a part of WrestleMania last year, the main event, he's been a main event player for over a year now, and that distracts Drew McIntyre. That costs him the WWE title match at WrestleMania? I just found it funny. I found it ridiculous that would cost Drew McIntyre the match. But that's what they decided on. That's how it played out. And Lashley, which I was all for it. I wanted Lashley to retain. He retained. Fantastic. He retained. And I hope he retains for a very long time. Because later on next week, I'm going to touch upon how they should book Bobby Lashley on Monday Night Raw and where they should take him to really make him the main event guy of Monday Night Raw. But for now at WrestleMania, he got the win, not in the way that I would have wanted, but oh well, it is what it is. Then we had turmoil, and of course, there was one team that I did not consider in my predictions, which was the team of Carmella and Billie Kay. And then, of course, if you watch my predictions, you notice that I predicted that Natalya and Tamina had the least amount of chances of walking out of tag team turmoil with the number one contender spot. And of course, they beat every single team, including my pick, the Riot Squad, route to that title match on night 2. So other than that, it was a pretty numbers match. I'm not, again, factoring out the crowd, the actual live crowd out of WrestleMania, which, is an added bonus to each and every single match, each and every single moment to WrestleMania itself this past Saturday and Sunday. It was, a normal match. It was a normal match. It just felt different because the fans were back in the arena. Then we had Cesaro versus Seth Rollins. They had Cesaro do 23 swings on Seth Rollins, which, if you go back and you actually count them, I don't think they're actually 23 swings, because, it took Cesaro more than a second, almost 2 seconds for each swing to pass by. And both Cole and the audience were counting the swings. They were counting them as they were just seconds. As if they were counting down for their Royal Rumble buzzer. So again, WWE again messing with the actual numbers, trying to make it bigger than it is. But again, that was a great moment that we will be reliving for the next few months on SmackDown with Cesaro. But hey, Cesaro got the win over Rollins. He did. Which, if I recall, I think that was my prediction. I think I predicted Cesaro to win over Seth Rollins. I'm not remembering that quite clearly. And now the question is, where does Cesaro go from here? Where do they take Cesaro from here? Because ever since 2021 started, they've given him big wins. He's beaten Daniel Bryan 2-3 times maybe this year. He just beat Seth Rollins at WrestleMania. Where does that take him? Intercontinental Championship? Maybe. No, I'd give him the Intercontinental title. I'd give him an Intercontinental title run. I don't think he's ready to be the World Champion, the Universal Champion. I don't think he's ready to even challenge Roman Reigns for the Universal title. It'd be one hell of a match. It'd be interesting to see Cesaro against Reigns. But in my mind right now, there's absolutely no chance that Cesaro goes over Reigns for the Universal title. And if you want Cesaro to keep that momentum, you got to put him in high-profile matches. I think SummerSlam is the world title run for Cesaro or for Big E. One of those two has to be a world champion by the end of the year. At least that's the way I'm looking at it right now, by the way they are pushing these two guys. Let's see what WWE does with them going forward. Then we had the Raw Tag Team Championships on the match. And here's what I want to say. Because night 1 had two very repetitive matches. Two very similar stories to tell in both matches. Because the Raw Tag Team title match had AJ Styles and Omos versus The New Day for the Raw Tag Team titles, where AJ Styles faced off against The New Day pretty much 2-on-1 for the majority of the match, until Omos came in and just decimated the Raw Tag Team Champions. That was a pretty good move on WWE to really showcase Omos's strength, his size, his aura, as a big man that can't be stopped, that was great on WWE's part. But the story I want to touch upon here is the fact that they had Omos wait on the apron and build up to that tag. And by the way, there were a few moments where AJ Styles just reached out for the tag, and Omos clearly wasn't supposed to tag at that moment. Because if Omos had just leaned over, I don't know, taken one step forward and leaned over, he could have tagged AJ Styles in the middle of the ring. Just that simple. Just that simple. It's just a story that they were telling. But then compare that, waiting for Omos to get into that ring and building to that moment. You compare that to the other tag team match on this card, the semi-main event, where Bad Bunny faced team with Damian Priest facing off against Miz and Morrison, where again Bad Bunny surprisingly started the match, which was the complete opposite to Omos being on the apron. But again, it was just Miz and Morrison cutting the ring in half and not allowing Bad Bunny to tag in Damian Priest, essentially making it a 2-on-1 handicap match and building up to that tag for Damian Priest, which might be a tried and true tag team formula, but at WrestleMania on the same night, it just seemed exactly the same. It just seemed like copy-paste to me. Anywho, AJ Styles and Omos won the Raw Tag Team Championships. And the only way I see them dropping those titles in the very near future is if AJ Styles turns on Omos. Because I don't see anybody, the way they had Omos go through Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods at WrestleMania, I really don't see a lot of the tag team division making any damage on Omos. Maybe the returning Viking Raiders, maybe. I'm not sure. But as of right now, it's very hard to see anybody taking those Raw Tag Team Championships off of Styles and Omos. We had that steel cage match between Braun and Shane McMahon. In a steel cage match, which, like I said in my predictions, there was obviously going to be a story to it. Shane McMahon was in no way, shape, or form going to get into a steel cage match with Braun Strowman and not have a plan. And of course he did. He had Elias and Jackson Riker help him out, bring the monster down a few pegs, put him in the cage, lock the cage up, and Shane had a certain advantage over Braun in the early beginnings of the match. But then, the former Universal Champion, the Monster Among Men, he showed up. He got back up, and he beat the living crap out of Shane McMahon. Especially that steel cage moment where he just rips. He's the Monster Among Men. He just rips the cage apart and just pulls Shane back in. He just pulls him back in. Which, obviously, I saw it coming. Because, again, I didn't watch it live, so I knew Braun Strowman won that match. I predicted Braun Strowman would win that match, so either way, I didn't think they would have Shane McMahon beat Braun Strowman at WrestleMania. But when Shane McMahon was about to, hop off the steel cage, and he just waves by to Braun Strowman, obviously, there was going to be something that Braun Strowman did to stop that from happening, stop Shane from winning. I wasn't expecting Braun to rip the cage apart. So that happened. Other than that, I've said it here, I've said it again. Braun Strowman, to me, he's a fantastic worker. He's a reliable worker. He's a star that you can place anywhere, and he'll work on that in that card. But much like Sheamus, much like Kane before him, and Mark Henry, and other big guys in the past, He can be anywhere in the card. He can be number one contender. He can even be the champion. He can even be the world champion on either show. I just don't see Braun Strowman as the guy. I just don't see him as a guy you build a company around. And that's nothing against Braun Strowman. I said, I'm a fan of Braun Strowman. I'm a bigger fan of other people, and I'm a bigger supporter of those other people being the face of the company. But like I said, Braun Strowman plays his role, not to perfection, but to a very great degree, and that works. I just don't see him, and I'm not really interested in seeing him as a part of a world title main event. I'm just not. And that's just my taste right now. If you have different tastes, fine. Go ahead and leave them in the comment section below. But for me, I just don't see it. Moving on to the tag team match. The first celebrity appearance on night one. Bad Bunny. What can I say about Bad Bunny that hasn't been said already? By other media outlets, by other people, by fans. I mean, he did an arm drag. He locked up. He did a frickin' bunny destroyer. A freaking bunny destroyer. At WrestleMania. Bad Bunny, he just took the frickin' bar that was set by others before him and he just set it all over the hill. It's like, who the hell? Which celebrity is ever going to top that? Who? Like New Day would say, who? I just don't see it. I'm a fan of his music. I'm a fan of the fact that he cared so much about the business and about the stage he was on to put on that performance. And honestly, if Bad Bunny plans to retire in 2032, which I think that's the whole meaning behind his shirt, hey, give wrestling a few months, years out of your life once you retire from the music industry, and you'll have a great career, I think. What else can be said? Damian Priest benefited from it. Now it's up to WWE to actually push Damian Priest and actually make him look like a star, like the star he is, and not rely on Bad Bunny's star power to make him look like that star. But for now, that partnership between Damian Priest and Bad Bunny, it worked. Let's see where it goes now. Again, Bad Bunny. Wow. Just wow. Bianca Belair defeated Sasha Banks in the main event of WrestleMania Saturday. Michael Cole made the call himself. Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks, the first two black women to ever main event WrestleMania. What a call. What a ballsy call. And then, watching as the bell rings and both Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair step out of their characters. They step out of being the boss and being the EST, and they just realize that where they are and what moment they're creating. They're at freaking WrestleMania in front of 25,000 fans. In the main event for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Two women of color in the main event of the biggest pay-per-view extravaganza of all time. The crowd is on their feet. They are chanting. They are cheering. They are in that moment with them. And you can see Sasha and you can see Bianca. They both tear up. They both step out of their characters, and they both are just Mercedes and Bianca, the people, the persons, where they are. As of this moment, they start to tear up, and they realize they are creating history. And it's not jarring. It's not breaking the fourth wall. If you are a fan of WWE, and you did not tear up in that moment, and you did not feel what they felt, or at least resonated with what they felt in that moment, then I don't know who the hell you are. I don't know what the hell you feel, because I felt that too. Seeing them tear up, hell, I wanted to cry. But I knew I couldn't cry. I knew they couldn't cry. Because they were in the main event. They had to get back into character. They had to put on the show of their lives. They had to put on the main event of their lives. And they fucking did. They fucking put on the main event of their lives. They put on a great match. And I just gotta say, that hair on Bianca, just getting hit, just getting striked by that hair. Sasha felt it. You could see the welts on the side of her body. I felt that. I felt that. I just watched. I just heard that snap on Sasha's body. And they created a star. They made Bianca Belair SmackDown Women's Champion in the main event of WrestleMania. Now, I'm not going to lie. I'm not the most versatile communicator. I can't communicate in wrestling terms because I've never actually wrestled. I can't tell you about wrestlocks and technical maneuvers because, frankly, I'm not sure what I'm talking about then and there. But I'm a fan of stories, and the story that these two ladies told in that ring, in the main event of night one, it just made my night. It just put the cherry on top of a fantastic night one for WrestleMania 37. And then we move on to WrestleMania 37 night 1. WrestleMania Sunday. Sunday. One thing that surprised me of that WrestleMania Sunday was the fact that they opened with Randy Orton versus The Fiend. They opened with a showcase. They opened with a story. They didn't open with a technical match. They didn't open with a show-stealing opening performance. They opened with, hey, we're going to tell you, we're going to bookend this story between the Viper and the Fiend. And they did just that. They brought the Fiend back to life. He was back at 100%. And I missed his entrance. I missed just hearing that Firefly's theme song. I just missed it. I just recall just hearing that song. Like, if WrestleMania 37 played that on a loop, I could have listened to that maybe an hour and a half. But that's just me. And then they made the surprising decision to have Randy Orton go over the Fiend, which is not something I would have done. If you ask me, I would have had the Fiend beat Randy Orton, protect the Fiend at all costs in that match, protect the Fiend, protect his aura. I think aura in terms of characters and superstars are very important, most specifically because the man who always had his aura protected was The Undertaker. So that's very important to me. And then, on Monday Night Raw, you have Alexa Bliss turn on the Fiend. But then again, it wouldn't have caused too many headlines. It wouldn't have been that big moment that we got with Bliss and the Fiend at WrestleMania, which got people talking on social media. So again, let's see where the story goes. And it might just be a ploy to keep the Fiend out of the title picture for now. I think the Fiend will eventually be back in the world title picture, but as of right now, he is stuck in his own world. And if he's stuck in his own world, he has to get out of his world. We got the tag team champions, women's tag team champions, Nia and Shayna versus Tamina and Natalya. Love the call that Michael Cole made that if Nia Jax is King Kong, hell, she said it herself, she's King Kong, bitch. And Tamina is Godzilla. That's a hell of a cultural reference for today. Unfortunately, I haven't seen that movie, so I don't know who wins that battle or what the hell happens in that movie. And even if I did, I wouldn't spoil it for any of you guys because the movie's been out for about 2 weeks now. So not a lot of people have seen it. But at least at WrestleMania 37, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler retained their tag team titles. All I gotta say is WWE has a lot of work to do with the women's tag team division. They have a lot of work to do with that tag team division, especially when they frickin' released Billy Kay and Peyton Royce. They released the Iconics. First of all, they broke them up about a year ago. Yeah. They broke them up. And I released them. And now, we pretty much have a tag team division of just take one piece over here, put them together, there's your team. That's not a team. That's not a made team. That's not the Riot Squad. That's not the Iconics. That's not Sasha Banks and Bayley. It's not. You're just putting two very entertaining, very good superstars, very talented superstars together and hoping that they stick. Just like the tag team champions themselves. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. That's what happened with them. And they've stuck so far. But that's one out of so many. That's an exception. That's not the rule. WWE, get on it. Kevin Owens defeated Sami Zayn in Night 2's celebrity appearance for Logan Paul. Logan Paul, he took a stunner. Again, for the headlines, for the celebrity appearance, for the mainstream media. He took that stunner. Fine. Perfect. I could care less about Logan Paul, honestly. I've never actually seen one of his videos. I understand he has 23 million subscribers, so good on him for that. As a matter of fact, great on him for that. But I want to focus on Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. It's 2021, WrestleMania 37. They've dreamed their entire lives to perform for WWE. They've dreamed their entire lives to perform on the grandest stage of them all. They've been best friends. They've been through thick and thin since their Ring of Honor days, since their independent days. They're both Canadians. They're best friends. And of course, you'd expect them to go into WrestleMania. And yes, Sami Zayn is a character right now. He's not the wrestler that he was in NXT. He's not the wrestler that he was in Ring of Honor. He's not that performer right now. He is a character. He is putting on a great performance as a character. And I keep saying that. Again, my vocabulary is limited. I'm getting to work on that. But as of right now, these two best friends, they just beat the living shit out of each other. And I loved every single moment of it. And it's, of course, it's something that you'd expect out of two best friends. They respect each other, they love each other, they trust each other to go out at WrestleMania and beat the living crap out of each other to put on a great show for the fans in attendance, for the fans watching at home. And that is exactly what they did. And whichever the decision was, whether Kevin Owens went over or Sami Zayn went over, it didn't matter. We got one hell of a show out of these two best friends, and I could not be more proud. That, if you're a wrestling fan, that is what you want. You want to witness the rise of each of these independent stars, from the independents to a company to the grandest stage of them all, and them putting on a show of their lives. That's what you want. Moving on to the United States Championship. Sheamus defeating Riddle. Again, paint by the numbers match. Other than the busted open Riddle at the end of the match. And by the way, why the hell is WWE just calling him Riddle? He's Matt Riddle, bro. He's Matt Riddle. Call him Matt Riddle. I never understand why WWE changes names, but hell, it's their company, it's their show, their rules. Oh well. Other than that, the busted open. That backstage moment between the bro himself, Matt Riddle, and RVD. I've said it before, I'm not that big of a fan of RVD, but when you say RVD, you just gotta do the RVD. Just seeing both of them backstage, in that backstage moment with the Great Khali, them interacting, they both have the same energy to them. And that was just fun. And I know RVD got inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame this year. So that might mean that at least for WWE, RVD's career may be over. I would really pay money to see RVD and Matt Riddle in a tag team. I would pay money to see him in that ring. I would pay money to see him backstage each and every single week. I would do. I would actually pay money for that. Just based off of that one backstage segment. But that's just me. Other than that, the match, Sheamus wins the United States Championship. I think that was a good move. That was a good move. Because Keith Lee, soon we will bask in his glory once again. And now you have a heel in Sheamus with the title. Ready, set, go, Keith Lee. Get that U.S. title that you were supposed to win at Elimination Chamber about 2 months ago. Apollo defeated Big E with help from Dabba-Kato. Dabba-Kato? I'm not sure how to pronounce that name. I'm not sure if they're even going to stick with that name for Apollo's servant. It was clear, he came out in that outfit and attacked Big E. It was clear that he was going to be Apollo's right-hand man, Apollo's soldier, now that he's embraced his Nigerian heritage and trying to do his best African accent, which, it works on SmackDown. But seeing that promo leading up to that match for the Intercontinental Championship, seeing that promo where Apollo Crews goes from 1 second speaking in his normal American accent to speaking in an African accent, that was just jarring. That was just, whoa, what's going on here? That's quite a choice. But hey, Apollo wins the Intercontinental Championship. Again, the same thing I said earlier on in this video. Big E, I don't think he's quite ready for the world title. I don't think he's quite ready to challenge Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship quite yet. But he does need to be chasing Apollo for the next few months, and he will probably do and get a rematch at WrestleMania Backlash. And wow, WWE, you really want to hit us in the head with that freaking WrestleMania tagline, right? You really want to do that. They had WrestleMania SmackDown, WrestleMania Saturday, WrestleMania Sunday, and now WrestleMania Backlash. But WWE, again, Rhea Ripley defeated Asuka for the Raw Women's Championship. I thought they could have done much more in that match. I thought that they will do much more in this program if Charlotte Flair doesn't have anything to say about it, and if they don't interject Charlotte Flair into this feud, into this rivalry. Other than that, it just seems like, yeah, Rhea Ripley needed to be Raw Women's Champion. We needed to reset the Raw Women's division. Asuka's been a good champion, not a great champion. They haven't given her too many challengers, too many big moments, which has been at fault for WWE's booking team. It's not Asuka's fault. But they really needed to reset the Raw Women's division. It's just that. It's just give us something to care about for the Raw Women's division. And I think they did just that with giving us the Nightmare as champion, giving her WrestleMania moment. And it was such poetic justice to have Rhea Ripley walk out in a stadium that she should have been last year at WrestleMania and actually win her title. At the beginning of the show, you could hear her, you could not hear her, you could see her tear up because she knew she had finally made it to WrestleMania after over a year wait. I caught that. And I'm sure a lot of fans caught it as well. And it was just beautiful. So Rhea Ripley winning the Raw Women's Championship. Now what WWE has said is, here's the ball, run with it. You've got Asuka, you've got Charlotte Flair, just run with it. Run with the ball and show us, show them, show the fans that saw you in NXT. Show Triple H and show everyone in NXT what they already knew. Show us what you're capable of. And I think Rhea Ripley, if given that trust, if given that time, and they don't put the title back on Charlotte Flair as soon as possible. I think Rhea Ripley can be here to stay. And frankly, there are rumors of Becky Lynch and Ronda Rousey coming back to WWE. Hold up on that. Hold up on that. Give Rhea Ripley the spotlight on Raw. Give Bianca Belair the spotlight on SmackDown. And eventually, bring them back into the fold. And I just gotta say, the women's division has been on fire for 2, 3, 4 years now. On Raw, on SmackDown, on NXT. They've been some of the most entertaining segments, performances, matches, moments, you name it. They've been what's been keeping WWE in everybody's mind. And it's nothing against the male superstars. They've done a great job too. But the women's division, their characters, their performances, they've just been on another level. And I think that's what sets WWE apart from AEW, from Impact, from Ring of Honor, from anywhere else. Their women's division is top notch. Wherever you want to poke holes at it, there are very few things to look at. And that is something to really give WWE and their booking team props on. So again, WWE, props on your women's division. And finally, we get to the main event of WrestleMania Sunday, where Roman Reigns, the tribal chief, the head of the table, he retained his Universal Championship against all costs in a very tricky match. Triple threat matches are very, very hard to produce. They're very hard to watch because it's always just a matter of 1-1 go. The other one, then 1-1 go. One beats down this one, and then the other one comes in, and they become that formula, and then the same formula over and over again. You know, it's just, damn it, it's hard to explain. I'm telling you, triple threat matches are hard. But essentially, it's 1-on-1, and then the third guy comes into play, and then one of the guys sits it out, and that's just the beginning of the match. And then at the end, it just becomes just turmoil at the end, where all three of them are involved, leading up to the big decision, where someone either retains the title or wins the title. That's basically the table of contents for a triple threat match. And the triple threat match that every triple threat match should be looking over and should be basing off of is that Vengeance 2002 between The Rock, Kurt Angle, and Undertaker. I think that should be the goal for any triple threat match going forward. That and the Unbreakable 2005 between AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, and Samoa Joe. Those two triple threat matches, I think. Yeah, I'll go with it. But other than that, having Edge not have his crowning moment at WrestleMania, again, it didn't hurt him because he's a rated R superstar. He's an 11-time world champion. He's a Hall of Famer. It didn't hurt him. But that was surprising. And if they did that at WrestleMania on the grandest stage of them all for Reigns, I think Roman Reigns is just going to have a dominant title reign going forward. And again, we'll get to Roman Reigns' current run later on next week on this channel. So stick around for that, because I have a few ideas that I want to bounce around you guys in terms of Roman Reigns and Bobby Lashley as champions on both brands. But other than that, there's not much to talk about in the main event, other than the concertos that they had in the main event. Just having Reigns pin both men on the grandest stage of them all at WrestleMania, retaining the Universal Championship, have WWE pretty much tell the WWE Universe that, hey, Roman Reigns is on the run of his life, and we're going to keep him on that run. Fantastic bookend to end the show, to end 2 nights. And one thing I've got to say is WrestleMania did benefit from having 2 nights, but from it being a 2-night event. It did benefit from that. The problem is with the accommodations for future events. Because it's going to be very hard to keep WrestleMania a 2-night event. I do agree with that. I do agree with WWE on that. I mean, we just got 7 hours of action for WrestleMania. 2 nights. 7 hours. That's not going to happen. It has happened in the past. And WWE has been faulted on that for it. But hopefully they can figure out a way to keep it as a 2-night event. Because it worked. It worked. I watched WrestleMania Night 1 on this past Wednesday night, and then I watched WrestleMania Night 2 on Thursday night. Perfect. Perfect. Just a great WrestleMania show all around. I can't believe they frickin' fired Samoa Joe. I can't believe they frickin' fired him on April 15th. Of all days, 1 year, the 1 year anniversary of them letting them, a bunch of wrestlers go. Of talent like Samoa Joe, like Billy Kay, like Peyton Royce, like so many others. It just sucks. It just sucks. And it's rumored that Aleister Black might be on a cutting board list, or whatever you want to call it, coming in the next few months. That's going to suck too. But again, there are only so many spots on the show, and there are only so many stars that you can put in those spots. So that's going to be one of those reasons. And this whole idea that, oh, it's budget cuts. We're cutting you because we just can't afford you. That's bullshit. Let's be honest, that's bullshit. They obviously have enough money to keep them around, but it's just not business viable to keep them around if they're not using them. And I understand that as well. You can't just keep someone around just because you have the money to keep paying him, and because you don't want to, how do I put this, ruin their lives or their current livelihood. You can't just do that when dealing with a business. And again, it sucks. It's a terrible thing to say, but that's just business. That's just how the world works. And that's just how the world will continue to work. And I can't wait. I'm crossing my fingers. I'm hoping to see Samoa Joe back in an Impact Wrestling ring. But it'd be idiotic to consider Samoa Joe for Impact or for Ring of Honor before AEW gets their hands on the Samoan Submission Machine and many other superstars. All I gotta say is, all of these 9 superstars that got released on April 15th, their 90-day non-compete clause ends on July 14th. So once we hit July, let's start holding on. Let's start waiting in anticipation for some of these superstars to pop up in Impact, in AEW, in Ring of Honor, in New Japan Pro Wrestling, anywhere else. Let's just hold up. So, yeah, night 1, night 2, I've gotten 43 minutes. Wow, that's a record for me. Yeah, that's been the WrestleMania review. Those are my thoughts on each and every single one of these matches, each and every single one of these moments. What did you think about WrestleMania? Do you agree with most fans that it should be a 2-night event? Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Other than that, there's not much for me to say, so I just had a thrill talking about WrestleMania. You know, I didn't take notes during the show because that takes away from the show. That pretty much makes it work, and I don't want it to be work. So what I did was just watch the show and watch both shows, and prior to recording this, I just wrote down everything I recalled right here on a notebook, because I consider that if I can recall each and every single one of these moments, each and every single one of these matches after the fact, then that just means that these superstars and WWE as a whole did their job. And that's exactly what they did. They kept some moments and they put them right here in my heart and in my mind, and that's what I want for future events for WWE. So other than that, it's been a great time discussing WrestleMania here. So I've been Alexis Carrillo. Hopefully you had a great time watching WrestleMania. Hopefully you had a great time watching this review, and if you stuck around for the entire thing, I appreciate you so much. And I'll see you next time. Have a great day.